Can one man redraw the map of the world? That's exactly what Alexander III of Macedon, Alexander the Great, did. A young man, not yet 30, he shook the thrones of empires and forged a legend that continues to be told to this day. From lightning battles that shifted the balance of power to conquests that stretched from Greece to the borders of India, Alexander left his mark on the ancient world like no other. A short life, but an enduring legacy. Welcome to this new video in our series on military leaders, where we delve into the life of one of the greatest military commanders. Alexander the Great was born in Impala, the political centre of Macedonia, in the summer of 356 BC. He was the son of Olympias, daughter of Neoptolemus, king of Epirus, and King Philip II of Macedon. Of all Alexander's teachers and mentors during his childhood, none was more renowned or influential than Aristotle, who was well versed in history, literature, geography, mathematics, ethics, politics, philosophy, and medicine. Alongside this comprehensive education, Alexander balanced his childhood with rigorous physical training. In 336 BC, when Alexander was only 20 years old, his father was assassinated in a conspiracy. Recognizing his remarkable military maturity, Alexander knew he had to act quickly. If Alexander wanted to consolidate his throne after his father's abdication, he seized the Aegis Palace and declared himself king with the support of Antipater, one of his father's senior generals. He secured oaths of allegiance from the nobility and military representatives. Having avenged his father's murder, Alexander secured his future by eliminating potential rivals. He ordered the execution of his half-brother Carano and his cousin Amyntas IV. He also sent Hecataeus of Cardania, in whom he had complete trust, to Asia. His mission was to eliminate Attalus, the Macedonian leader in the region. Meanwhile, his mother, the cruel Olympia, ordered the murder of Cleopatra Eurydice, Attalus' niece, and his young daughter Europa. Having consolidated his power, Alexander turned the Macedonians' attention toward their neighbors in a swift campaign that lasted only a few weeks. Before Alexander returned home, almost all of Greece had surrendered to him and accepted him as their new leader in the coming war against the Persian Empire. Alexander the Great visited the Temple of the Oracle. He set out from Delphi on a campaign that would be repeated many times in his later campaigns, seeking to appease the gods of the region to justify his conquests. After consolidating his power in Macedonia and Greece during the spring of 334 BC, Alexander marched into Asia with a massive army of 37,000 men. This army included 12,000 Macedonian cavalry, 3,000 royal guards, hypestes, and 1,800 elite cavalry, heteroi. His Greek allies provided him with 9,000 infantry and cavalry, as well as special light infantry units from Illyria and Thrace. In addition to his powerful land army, he also possessed a formidable navy of approximately 200 ships. Alexander's first major victory against the Persians came at the Battle of the Biga River in 334 BC. He then marched along the southern coast of Turkey, capturing cities such as Sardis, the Euphrates, Miletus, and Halicarnassus. In fact, this Macedonian conqueror, within a year and a half, had conquered most of the Anatolian peninsula. Fearing he could not halt Alexander's advance, the Persian king Darius III assumed command, seeking a decisive victory in a land battle. However, in 333 BC, he suffered a humiliating defeat at the Battle of Isis. Alexander then decided to head south along the Palestinian coast before penetrating deep into the heart of the Persian Empire, determined to deprive them of their naval bases in that region. In this way, Alexander the Great's conquests continued to spread along the Mediterranean coast, encompassing Syria, Phoenicia and Gaza. He then stopped in Egypt to liberate its ancient civilization from Persian rule. After passing through Memphis, Alexander was proclaimed pharaoh. Years later, with the rise of his general Ptolemy to power, a new dynasty began. Alexander, of Macedonian origin, ruled Egypt for 3 centuries. Alexander, a descendant of the Ptolemies, sought to win the favor of his people, his priests, and even his gods. He stopped at the Suya oasis to visit the temple of Amun, where he proclaimed his divine lineage. The Macedonian tried not to impose radical changes on Egypt, preserving its regional divisions and traditions. Nothing was ever the same again. Nevertheless, in 331 BC, Alexander founded the city of Alexandria in the Nile Delta, just off the coast, and named it after himself. From its inception, it was designed to be the most magnificent showcase for the cultural and economic riches of Western Egypt. Alexandria quickly became one of the most important cities, not only in Egypt, but in the entire ancient world. According to some sources, its population reached around 6,000 by the end of the Hellenistic period. In the same year, Alexander's conquests led him into Mesopotamia, taking advantage of his presence in Egypt. The Persian king Darius assembled a powerful army, but his overwhelming numerical superiority was of no use during the Battle of Graal Gamala, where Alexander triumphed thanks to his experience as a strategic commander, a battle that marked the end of Macedonia. The final defeat marked the end of the Persian Empire. After this battle, Darius III focused on retreat and defense. Following this decisive victory, Babylon and Susa surrendered in succession. Alexander captured Passo and Persepolis, the Persian capital, as a result of the relentless advance of the Macedonian invaders. Darius III was assassinated by his general Bessus, who proclaimed himself king under the name Artaxerxes. This event marked a pivotal turning point in Alexander's conquests. With cunning and shrewdness, Alexander assumed the title of King of Kings, and, determined to avenge Darius, began persecuting Bessus. Bessus, the Macedonian conqueror, radically altered his appearance and behavior to win over his new subjects in the east. To achieve this, he began wearing the traditional attire of Persian kings, gifted his friends purple robes embroidered with gold for public occasions, and equipped their horses with the region's traditional saddles. He established 2 ministries, one European and the other. He sent an Eastern man bearing the royal seal of Darius III and surrounded himself with a wealthy retinue of local nobles who worshipped him, even forming a harem of hundreds of women and eunuchs. In the following months he subdued and conquered Hacrania, Aria, Drangiana, Provasia and Arachnosia, extending his influence as far as the Kabul Valley in what is now Afghanistan. Bessus's escape was short-lived, as Alexander captured him on his way through Sogdiana, the northernmost province of the empire, where the dry aerial sea now lies. After many years spent building and fortifying cities, pacifying what is now Iran, and suppressing internal revolts within his army, Alexander marched into India in 327 BC to confront the growing despotism of his reign. Unlike the Persian Empire, India at that time lacked a central authority and was divided among numerous peoples and kingdoms. This was undoubtedly a formidable challenge for Alexander, but he did not give up. He penetrated the Indus Valley and crossed the Zelam and Biya rivers. He defeated local kings and conquered lands never before trodden by a Westerner. However, as Alexander's empire expanded and became increasingly difficult to govern, discontent grew within his army. This was understandable, as they had been away from home for years, although many had established families in the conquered lands. since Alexander preferred soldiers of mixed ancestry. Ultimately, Alexander had no choice but to turn westward, conquering more territory along the way. By 324 BC, Alexander had returned to Persepolis, and in 323 BC he settled in Babylon, a city where he began numerous works to fill it with magnificent new monuments reflecting his grandeur, and where he inscribed his name in stone to immortalize his memory. On the night of June 10th, 323 BC, Alexander the Great's journey came to an end, not with a fall on the battlefield, nor betrayal by his companions, but with a mysterious illness that claimed one of the greatest commanders at the young age of 32, despite some theories suggesting poisoning. With his death, the dreams of an empire he envisioned stretching from the east to the farthest reaches of humankind crumbled, and projects like the conquest of the Arabian Peninsula, that vital trade hub between the East and the Mediterranean, vanished. His horse fell silent, and the grand Macedonian dream shattered into fragments, divided among the generals who had once followed him. Alexander, ambitious, passionate, cunning, generous and ruthless when battle demanded it, departed before witnessing the end of the world he sought to reshape. With his death, the Hellenistic era began, an age in which the world was transformed after the vision of a universal empire, destined to fail, crumbled. A short-lived empire, it disintegrated like a dream upon waking. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.